So this is one of the check amounts. What? Do they got it paused for y'all? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. They had it paused for me. And then the amounts just go higher and higher. So 15. Then we got 150. And these are from my friends. One is 175,000, and then the other one is 101,500.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally it's like it's not just me doing it just to do it. It's sincerely like I do it for my friends. I do it for my YouTube subscribers. So I call my YouTube subscribers Rainicorns. So I have written literally my subscribers, I've written Rainicorns 2 checks so far. And literally I did it. I didn't like do a whole video and be like, hey you guys, I'm gonna do this. It was like, hey guys, I did this thing. How are y'all feeling? Did you feel the results from it? And literally I had the check written and dated April 18th, and a whole bunch on the video commented and said, I actually did get money on April 18th. Yeah, I did get money and stuff like that. With all that going on, I'm just that, you know, my life's going well, and I'm making things better for other people too, and that everybody like around me has a great life. Like I'm genuinely happy about that.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's that mother energy. Is you want all of your kids. Look, you want all your children to have a good life. You don't want one of them to have a good life and the other one to have a bad life.
Right.
Right? You want all of them to have a good life. Now, some of them might be some assholes. They steal your babies and you still want them to have a good life.
Hey, that's true. No, that's true. Like literally, like you said with the child analogy, it's like that with people in general, right? So like me, I don't have to be emotionally tied to a person for me to still treat them right. I don't have to like you in order for me to do what needs to be done. People have had jobs. People have had jobs. You have a coworker. You've had a coworker that you don't like, but you still work with them because that's what you get paid to do. So my job literally being here is to be the vessel to say certain things. Whether I like you or not, I still got to get my job done. My reward doesn't come from you. It doesn't come from anybody else besides, you know who? Big Mama. Exactly. So it's like, if when I look to the Most High for whatever I need, and I don't really have to care about what other people feel, it makes my job that much easier. It's just people let emotions and feelings get in the way of the mission.
You know, your emotions is just supposed to be your navigation system. Most of us don't know that. So that's why when you get stuck in the emotion, that's like being stuck in the change oil light on your car. If you keep watching that just because it's blinking, you're going to crash.
No, because why did I buy car oil today? Oh no, that's lit. That's lit. I love that. But I love that analogy too. Your analogy, you really have the best analogies. You break things down to where people can understand it, of course, and then you break it down to where they can relate it to something that happens in everyday life.
Yeah, because that's the easiest thing for them to relate to.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And now I just been up here talking. How are you? I'm not. You're not. You're not gonna do that. Just go get away. We're not telling me how you are.
Hey, look, Ellie, your energy is like a uplifting energy. The people in the comments can even feel it. You know, so it's always a pleasure to have you around. So I just let you do your thing.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna ignore my question though.
Okay, what's the question?
How are you? Oh my goodness. I want to know.
I answered that first.
You said what?
I told you I was good.
No. I'm not just gonna like accept that as the answer. I'm gonna need some details. How was your week last week? How was your weekend?
You know, on the weekend, the big event was I did the video with Black Magic 363 on YouTube, and was able
That's cool.
to answer a
That's
lot
really
of questions and put a lot of information out on there. I think the hardest thing for people at this point to understand is creation is fluid. It's happening in real time. Tomorrow not here yet. In order for
I hear
tomorrow
yet.
to, in order for tomorrow to get here, we got to manifest tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's the
Exactly.
collective manifestation. That's why we all know we're gonna wake up tomorrow, because we creating that shit in real time. Right? And some of the creators can see it in wave form, so they see a flat earth. And some of the creators see it in particle form, so they see a round earth. They don't make now one of them right or wrong, it just make them have a different view.
Okay.
They had a different level of creativity in their psyche. Right? So it's like you can't expect a high school or junior high school basketball player to compete with LeBron James right now. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right? But if you give him the time and you help him to develop, he'll be able to play in the league with the best of the best. Right? So the creator's learning how to create. You have to see it in every phase.
Right.
Right? So at your level, you might not be able to see over the infinite plane of the mind, because that's where the infinite plane is. In order to see past the infinite plane, you have to see through the slits. Right? And when you see through the slits, you see in the particle, and the particle is solidified creation. This is when we have a round earth, because we're dealing with particles now. We're no longer dealing with waves. And then you got some that can see it in the middle. It's a wavicle. Right? So if, like they say, if we on an infinite plane, what's holding it up?
Right.
Right? But the only way it can be infinite if it's the product of the mind. The mind don't have a limit. So you can't put a limit on what the mind can perceive. Right? But soon as somebody put a limit on it, that's an agreed upon manifestation of that part of creation.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like the concept of heaven.
Yeah, that's earth is heaven when we get the
Yeah.
imposters out.
The imposters.
We all it has to happen that way though. Right? Because we got to be able to see the deceiver when the deceiver coming, and then we got to be able to show you how they was giving out the deception. And then once you can see it, it doesn't work for them no more. They can't trick nobody no more. They game exposed now.
That's how they are right now. Like you were saying earlier about the finances and stuff and everything crashing. Yeah, people figured it out. So once it got figured out, there's no use for it anymore.
Right. So once it runs its course is over.
Right.
Yeah. So before the invasion, women didn't have to wear no clothes if they didn't want to. They wasn't getting raped. What
Sad.
they call today primitive cultures. The women don't have to wear no clothes. They ain't getting raped unless it's somebody from outside of their community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the difference. That's what we're trying to get back to the beginning, back to the haven called Earth instead of the hell called Earth.
Mm. It's like, okay, When you say it like that, that kind of reminds me of the what they call it, the 3D 5D split. I just say the dimensions merging at the same time. It's them separating themselves. So it's like you have the hell version of heaven and the heaven version of heaven. Would you say that that all correlates?
So what happens is this: the 3D world, we want it to be here so we can experience finding our balance. The part we didn't want in the 3D world was the upsetting of the balance by the imposters. They came in and threw a monkey wrench in the good working program.
Right.
Because and with that, they enslaved everybody. Right? Now, we at the part where they got to find somewhere to be because they can't stay here. And we go back to as it was in the beginning. And it's the close of the age, so shall it be in the end. So in order to close out the age, you got to take it back to the beginning, back to its purest nature.
Mm. Mm. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess that's like one of the reasons why, like, the way that things are working now with the mix of generations, I'm seeing it's really a mix of things. It'll be like generation X and Y, they're onto certain things because they understand, oh, flip flop. This is what we did in the Matrix. This is how we're doing it when we're more spiritual and in tune. Versus it's like generation Z, and then I'm seeing like the babies and stuff, generation Alpha. It's more like this
I'm
is
glad you
just the
brought
way
up.
that this goes.
I'm glad you brought up Generation Z, right?
Hey.
Because Generation Z, when you go through the alphabet, what's the last letter?
Z. According to this alphabet.
Look, in the
But
Greek
yeah.
alphabet, it's Omicron.
Ooh,
Omicron
okay.
is the small o for the omega. Omega. Remember, from alpha to omega. That means from beginning to end.
Okay. Yep.
From A to O. But in English, it's not A to O, it's A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
And now we on Generation Z. Well, what would make them call this Generation Z?
It's the last one. That's it.
The
Well,
gig is
it's
up.
okay. It's yeah, like it's wrapping up their series of generations that they had. Then the fact that they made the next one Alpha, then the one after Alpha is gonna be Omega. I don't think they have a name for the one that's supposed to be after that, but it is what it is. I'm Gen Z. My son's Generation Alpha. His child, well, depending on how things go, because whatever. But the next kids, they will be Generation Omega.
Because
That's
now
it.
they going backwards. They going backwards with the alphabet. They don't exhausted the English alphabet. Now they have to go backwards to the Greek. Because the English alphabet is derived
Mm,
from the Greek alphabet.
mm.
Right? So when we say alphabet, we saying alpha, beta. That's two Greek letters.
Right.
Right? So it's called the alpha beta system. The alpha beta system is from alpha to omega in Greek, but it's from A to Z in English, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that the way that they deceive us is with vowels, the interchange in the vowels in translation, and that's how they can use a term like more as a all-inclusive term for varying different groups of people. And we have to identify the ones that's us, the good more. It was. And that's the fear of the old system. But it got to go down. The old system has to fall for the new system to rise.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They said they fucking with the live. Doesn't surprise
Oh
me.
yeah, it was cracking up. It was. I heard that last good sentence 100% clearly. Before that, it was choppy.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let you drop down, Ellie. I'm gonna take another caller before I go.
All right then. Peace and
Thank you
unity
for
to
coming
you.
on.
I love you
I love
for
you too.
sure.
Thanks for
How you doing,
unity.
brother?
What's going on with you? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, discernment. Call me Dub, but I'm up here in Tacoma, Washington.
For sure. Far West.
Yeah. But you hit home on something earlier. You made me think, and when the other guy was on talking to you, and you said connect with your tribe, and I had never thought about that as far as the area I was born in, and so I just remember the name Cahokia was always was it always was a name or that stood out to me as a youngster, and and so I'm like, what can you tell me on that? Because I'm like, I know you that you.
That word is properly pronounced Hayoka. The Hayoka is the priest. For that to be tapping on your door, that would mean that you come from the priest line.
Are you breaking up there? They don't want me to hear this, Rob.
Did you hear any of what I said?
They ain't want me to hear none of that, Rob. I already know how they do. It was like it's I knew that before you even pulled me up, because it was a surprise that you pulled me up, and I was like, oh, okay, see, that's just Big Mama talking, because my cat came to the door, and then next thing I know I was on with you, and I was like, hey, Big Mama, because I was like, I need to get out there and get some sunlight, So
Yeah, I
already know.
was telling you that word is properly pronounced as Hayoka. And the Hayoka is our way. Those were our high priests. They didn't live in the village with the rest of the people. They lived out. They called him the medicine man. And because he gets so much energy reads, he can't stay in close proximity to a lot of people. Am I describing you?
Hey, you hitting home, cause so I had this and it come to me in a dream, and I ended up making it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, copper ankh.
So you really touching me right now.
Yeah, your energy. I can see your energy causing your electronics to malfunction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you walk barefoot on the dirt?
Yes. Hey, that's one of my things. So my OG, my mom, she ascended on November 1st, right? So I went back to Wisconsin, where everybody is, and they're like, you just gonna walk around here like that with the slides on? And cause I like to wear slides, so I can, if I see some grass, some dirt, some rocks or something, I could ground for a little bit. I'm gonna do it. So you walk around like that all the time, and it's like it's about to snow, and I'm like, well, whatever Big Mama going through, I have to go through too. So, hey, it is what it is,
Hey, so then that also activates stuff in your DNA. So Yeah, so it's a natural. You a natural. So study all of the spirit information you can get your hands on, especially Vadum.
And how and say the pronunciation again for me. Uh, uh, Hokia.
Say hi yoka.
Uh,
I seen pictures of Martin sitting in Elijah's living room having a conversation. Who your cousin, sweetie? So Martin discovered that he was being used or misused. There's nothing wrong with being used. It's when you misuse that it's a problem. People always talking about she used me. No, not used. Misuse. Because if you used for what you worth in your own proper context, that's a good thing. When you misuse, that means taking advantage of and putting the position out of context, that's a bad thing. So understand, oh yeah, Vernon Johns was the truth. And he was actually my mama cousin. He was my mama cousin too. Well, it was Becky, my cousin too. But they was related on her father's side, the Johns. My mother's last name was Johns all the way up until she married my father. Right. So that gave me a special interest in his case. Matter of fact, for those who want to know who he is, James Earl Jones played him in the movie about Vernon John. But I knew about him before I seen the movie. But I seen the movie years after it was made too. But I had learned about him studying Martin. I wanted to know what happened to the guy that preceded him. We just disappeared. They kicked him out of the church because he was too militant. So then he started. We might be, sweetie. Um, we traced back to Louisiana, right? The Johns. My grandfather, Hezekiah from he from Macomb, Mississippi. That was his territory, and they divided his land up. Get out of here, Beulah. That was Aunt B. That was my mama's stepmother. So apparently we cousins on our motherfucker. So you gonna have to inbox me so we can put this shit all the way together. Cause Miss B was Aunt Betty's mother. Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna go back into this. So once we get into the 70s, Panthers moving now, right? This is when they start infiltrating what we call gangs. We was tribing up in the late 50s. My mother was what you call a outlaw vice lord biker on the west side of Chicago. This was before you had all of these spinoff groups. So they instituted a cultural thing that we do. It's called a razzle dazzle or a flea flicker in football. It's the same thing. Everybody got the ball. We in the huddle. Now scatter. We don't know who got the ball, but one of these niggas got the ball. So my mama sent cousins and sisters to California. She kept some in Chicago. She sent some, some stayed in Mississippi and Louisiana. Then she ended up moving to Michigan with my father. So this was to keep her sons out of the fray in the fight for power. Because there is no fight for power when we hear. We know where the power go. We just gonna put it in the right place. If you make something work the way it's supposed to work, it'll last longer and work better than if you use it for something it wasn't meant for. You say your whole family from Macomb? Shit, that's a good chance we related. So there's a tribe of Mississippians called Shoshone. Too Short is tied to that tribe, and the tribal chief actually was my first girlfriend's father, named Sonny Shaw. He was the chief, but he was here. Anyway, the Shaw clan is Shoshone, indigenous Americans. And the Washington family is the Washita. It's the same name changed to fit the English language. So if your last name is Washington, you're a Washita who is named after George Washington for conquering the Washita or Wichita. Wichita, Kansas was a stronghold, right? So now we starting to get to the Hall of Records. Now we starting to get to the Halls of Records. Once we get to the Hall of Records, they can't, that's it. So the records is kept. It's just, are we wise enough to get the records back? Leonard mean lion. My uncle named Leonard too, by the way. Oh, the Sparks, yeah. So we got the Sparks up here. Sister Sparks and Brother Sparks. They got officers as they offspring up here in Pontiac. So the Sparks family come from down there. They Brother Sparks was a dog man. He was teaching me some dog stuff. Okay, so you want to know how to get the records. First of all, you got to know where the records at. The records is in the mountain. And the records is not just records, they're what you call your trust documents. And this is where our money at. You have to be agreed to publicly declare ownership of the records as a tribal grid on the land. You have to have what you call historical works to verify your position. Dane Calloway, Malachi York have those indigenous works where they can say, I'm the grid on the land, and this is where our records is in just outside of Kansas City, Kansas. Right? So I talked about it on a Zoom call the other day. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to try to figure out how to post clips from it so y'all know exactly where the records is to the trust. When you get the records to the trust, is the records to the money. Because all of our wealth is held in the trust. And the trust is owned by the Catholic Church by papal bulls. When you understand which papal bulls, which I already went through that, but the papal bulls is what kept us separated from our family's wealth, what we call the royal coffers. The royal coffers is all this shit you seen in the museum that they said from Mexico and Egypt and Tibet. That's our shit. But the Catholic Church said we was imbeciles and non-functional chieftains, and therefore we did not have the ability to hold our own wealth. So they put us on an allowance plan, right? When they put us on the allowance plan, then we had to earn an allowance by working under a slave system until Master gave us a check at the end of the week. We never did that. In the indigenous land, every job was per diem, by the day or by the job. This job paid $400. When you're done, I'm going to give you $400, period. Or if it wasn't that way, if you work with me today, I'm going to give you $400 for today's labor. Whatever we do, don't matter. At the end of the day, when you go home, I'm going to give you $400. No credits. Credit and debt is how they trapped us in slavery, right? And they only did it using a penal system code of token and reward. What we think is money is not money. It's fiat, which means it's something somebody said had value, but it has no value. So Jones is also Johns, and the Johns, they are kindred clans. Jones and Johns is the same last name in the indigenous language. It's just split in English to tell you that y'all two different people. It's also Jonas, Jonas, and by blood linkage, you are Johnsons, right? The sons of John, and Jones sons, which is the sons of Joneses, and all of these names. Our culture is tied up in the last names because they couldn't just take it, right? The last name I got from my father, Hayes, is really a short form of Hayoka. And it's pronounced in the indigenous tongue as Haya. But Africa wasn't called Africa before the Berlin Conference. But it was called Eastern Ethiopia, was Indus Valley, and Ethiopia proper was the Ethiops that the Greeks renamed. Land of the burnt faces. Okay. Egyptos, land of the dark faces.
Let's get to another question. Let's see. I think Rod answered this one already. The black no, yeah, he already talked about the black nobility. So I'm gonna try to get to a question that. All right. Somebody said, will we ever have access to other lands outside the Antarctica ice wall?
You got access now if you can afford to get there. But the wall is not a wall, it's a shelf.
It's a what?
A shelf.
What you mean?
You ever see the that tree stump they call the mountain in Arizona?
Yeah, yeah.
You see how the top of it is flat? But the sides of it go up. Right? That's the shelf. The top is the shelf.
Okay.
Right? What they call in the ice wall is just the outside of the freeze zone. Right? A lot of the icebergs over the millennia have broken off from there and floated into the oceans at different places and eventually melted.
Right.
Right. But it's the wall has a shelf on the top that covers the land, most of the land of Antarctica. All of it not covered with ice, just most of it. But they came from a splash. So imagine a upsplash of water suddenly freeze.
Right.
Right. And that's what happened because it pierced in the last Anunnaki war that caused the ice age, that nuclear winter, it shifted the earth in its atmosphere, like pushing the yolk outside of the egg. Right. And then it got flash froze. That's what make it be frozen.
All right. I think that is it, y'all. That is it. I guess this is a good way to conclude the show, Rod. They want to know, what are we supposed to be doing as a people right now to prepare for what's to come? This is the conclude the show tonight, y'all. What should we be doing to prepare for what's to come,
Rod? Study family banking, build stronger family ties, and communicate as much as possible with like-minded people in the open as much as possible. And don't fall for none of the fear tactics. And we good.
So we should be getting closer to our family, you saying?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people don't fuck with their family, Rod. I'm sorry to tell you, man. People be like,
listen, Rich, even if they don't mess with their own family, they mess with a family.
Yeah, you're right.
They got a family that they love. Like, this the family I should have been born in.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the tribe energy. They tribing up doing that.
Right, right, right,
Your relatives is people you born with. Your friends is the family you pick, and your family is the ones that ride with you till the wheels fall off.
right, 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 right.
The bonds of affection is tied by the ties of loyalty, right? And you know the ones that got your best interest at heart. Like anywhere I go, if I got a relative there, I can pull up and go get a blanket out the closet and lay down and go to sleep.
Right, right, right.
They're not gonna have no problem with it. But there's some people that can't do that.
Yeah.
They show up at their family house, they might meet firearms.
Yeah.
But everybody got a family that they click with.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we never had orphans. Because somebody gonna take you in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the family dynamic is not gonna change. Family gonna have a family structure. They're gonna have strong ties. They're gonna enjoy each other. They're gonna commonly gather,
Mm-hmm.
and do what family do.
Indeed, indeed. Oh man, what a show, right, y'all? What we got? We got about 3,000 people in the chat. I know y'all enjoyed it. Y'all done stuck around, man. All 3,000 y'all done stuck around. Man, Rod, what a show, man. I'm glad I called you to do this show tonight. I'm glad we chose the topic. Once again, family, me and Rod gonna do a part 2 to help us to tap into our ESP, extrasensory perception, telepathy, telekinesis, all that good stuff, all these abilities we got. We're gonna do a part 2 of my Patreon next week. Definitely make sure you're a part of Patreon, family. Also, the Nine Eat the God Fest will be on Patreon as well. So you want to be a Patreon to get all of the goodies. All right, Rod. What any contact info you want to leave the people with before we get out of here?
They can find me on Facebook at Rod Hayes. My profile and background change often. And you can find me on the SikApe on Instagram. Otherwise, you catch me here with Brother Rich or with the young elder over there.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally other people invite me, and I show up there too. Shout out to True Seekers 88. They had me on there a couple times on Rumble. The corporation was trying to convince us that it's business as usual, that it's functioning as normal, but all the time it's in the active process of liquidation. That includes the UN, that includes Vatican, that includes London, that includes Swiss banking networks. It was all being seized by the Earth Alliance. Military, Department of Defense, America is the lead. The most developed military in the world, the United States of America, as they say, is the lead military in the Earth Alliance. Remember, I told y'all that they're looking for cause to start moving the National Guard in now under the martial law. It's something that we ain't noticing about the birth citizenship. That include all the judges and lawyers too. Once you become a noble with a title of nobility, right? Esquire, honorable, almost all attorneys are esquires. You are a stand-in royal. A stand-in royal is a sir. A sir is another title of nobility. If your part of the family deal with the management of land resources, then y'all become the land barons. The land barons and the family bankers are the ones secretly pulling all of the strings, because the land barons is trying to steal land that you can't take from heritable birthright. And the bankers is trying to cover it up with fraudulent contracts. The courts is the bank, right? When you at bar is what it's called. That means at the bank. A sandbar is a bank of sand that extends out into the water. So when you enter into the court, you enter into the bar or the sandbar, which is a protrusion, a peninsula of a bank, because the bank is the land surrounding the body of water that's not the sandbar. Right? The reason why they call it the sandbar is the reference to the Plymouth, because they had to keep that ship out there in order to maintain the term called occupation. If you don't understand military occupation, then you don't even, that's why you can't unravel American history. The military occupation is something that happened as a result of a war and an invasion. If you go back to 2001, you can get a crash course in military occupation of two countries after 9/11, Iraq and Afghanistan. They handled both of them different, but they occupied both of them, right? One, they established a whole new leadership regime, right? And the other one, they just shifted the political party that was ruling out of the picture and put an alternative political party in power. The side effect to that is the political party they put in power was infiltrated by the political party that they ousted and then reclaimed under the same name that you put out there. And that's why they keep saying America never won a war. They say we won, but we always end up paying the bill like we losing. Look, the Cold War.
Right.
If you get a 1995, 85, 75 almanac, and you look for gross domestic product, gross national product, right? Then you look for economic aid. Go to the country of Russia, and it's going to tell you in there exactly how much annual aid Russia, the USSR, was getting from the United States. It roughly was about $6 billion a year, right? When Israel was established, America was paying Israel under the pretense of World War II reparations. So that means that we had to lose to Germany. Operation Paperclip.
Yeah,
right?
I was wondering why they was paying them, bro. You just told me that why, because I was like, damn, why we paying? They lost to Germany, the one that did them, you know.
So they want us to think we won the First World War, the Second World War. They want us to think that the same people won the Civil War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the American Revolution. That's not the case. Anything that would cause what's called lose face, right? If anything caused you to lose face, that means you lose value in the presence of others. Then they have to cover that up. They don't want you to know they weak as they are, because they relying on you to let them use your strength that you don't even know you lending them.
I didn't even know that them. That's the reason why they were paying. Because I was trying to figure out, why is America paying Israel for what Germany did to them? They don't even make no sense. So now,
if you go through the almanac, almost every country America was giving economic aid to. Some of them is classified, most of them is economic aid or some kind of financial relief. Mm-hmm. And we the richest country in the world, well, we paying every country in the world. Right. That don't make sense. You can't keep your status if you got a leak in your rear end.
Yeah. That's what Donald Trump said about that we was paying $300 billion or something to Canada every year. And then I know why they paid Japan. Japan is because of the they dropped the bomb on them, and that's like international type, things when they gotta, but what's the deal on that? Go ahead.
The pride of the Japanese, they've been stopped accepting reparations for World War II.
Yeah.
You know what they trying to do? They trying to outdo America in auto manufacturing, clothing manufacturing, technical manufacturing, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And hold on one second now. This separate call.
Hey, y'all, if you just not tuning in, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, man. We got SikApe in the Northgate. We're going to take questions, get some of y'all questions from the crowd, man, so we can, take some of the questions y'all might have. And I got a couple of questions for Rod to start it out, and then we'll take questions from y'all. So if you're just not tuning in, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share it. And we're going to crack heads and twist caps, man. You already know how Rod do it. We picking the lock here. We going through the time machine, and we piecing the puzzle together. Most of my questions is stimulated around. We're gonna get to your questions, Sugar Shane. Hey, most of my questions is stimulated around what's going on now. Hey, Rod. So you left off while Japan said that they don't want to take no money from U.S. dollars no more. Nobody wants the U.S. dollar for that matter.
Well, that was before BRICS.
Go ahead.
Japan is trying to outcompete in productivity and quality products. Hold on. Let's show you something. I was working at GM. They was telling us about this guy, to start doing research on him. His name is Dr. Deming, and he came up with this quality program for productivity, quality, what they call quality control measures. The Japanese, when Ford, Chrysler, GM turned him down and said they didn't want to hear it. So because he was already an auto executive, he was going on a trip to Japan. He presented it to the Japanese auto manufacturers. This is where your Lexus come from, your Lexus and your Infiniti. So when he presented it to them, they was like, that's the key, because if you go